Absolutely phenomenal morning, guys. Absolutely phenomenal morning. This is your Breakfast with the Brand Saturday edition. Saturday edition. I am your host, Sean Raiz, as always, flanked by the phenomenal Bobby Jackson. And I know he's nervous right now. Like, what's going on with the non-tie wearing? You know, I just felt like coming on just super authentic. You guys already know me for the red tie affair, guys. This is what we do every single morning besides Sunday, because even God rested. Even God took one day, right? So every single other day, we work to help you grow your business, grow your brand, grow those skills, leverage your leadership, and grow those skills that are needed for you to add a zero to you and become the consummate leader and hero of your story. Bobby Jackson, how you feeling this morning, man?
I feel like I had to reintroduce myself to myself. That's how I felt this morning. Like, sometimes you have to look yourself in the mirror and reintroduce you to you. And what I mean by that is I was looking up some awards, and one of them says, so a Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal is originally designed for recognition of non-combat professionals, professional and leadership achievements. The Navy Achievement
Hold
Medal.
up. What happened? I think okay, nope, you froze for a minute. Go ahead, go back and say that again.
So the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, originally designed for recognition of non-combat professional and or leadership achievement. The Navy Achievement Medal may now also be presented for combat valor to members of the Navy or Marine Corps. It holds the same level of precedence as the achievement medals of the Army, Air Force, and Coast Guard. And I said to myself, you got three of those. You got three of those. And I wasn't done yet because I was still reintroducing myself. I was like, but that's a certain level. Like, I have a high level of those. So I went and I said, let me see what's up with this Marine Corps Commendation Medal. The Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal is considered a mid-level award. It can be awarded with a V for valor, and in that respect, it ranks right below a Bronze Star. I was like, I got one of those too. Got one of those too. So I had to reintroduce myself to myself as like, you a bad brother. You in two deployments, special operations, Marine Corps, machine gunnery courses. Like, you led Marines. Boy, you better get out there and get after it. So that's how I'm feeling this morning.
Sometimes I have to tell people stop playing games with themselves. Like, stop playing games with yourself. So one of the things that I did that was kind of similar, Bobby, is that I was notified about the third master's degree. Third master's degree was not on my radar. It wasn't something I was targeting. It wasn't something that I was going after. It was accredited by default. Accredited by default. You might want to become familiar with that terminology, because that's what Bobby's saying. He's accredited by default. He didn't shoot for any of those awards or commendations. They became him due to his valor and execution. The same way I was notified by email that, hey, you know, you've earned a third master's degree in educational leadership as per your course of study and how far you've gotten towards the dissertation and the doctorate within the educational leadership space. And I was like, wow, really? Like, that's interesting. Not that I'm paying too much attention to it. Yeah, let me get that. That's good. Like, phenomenal. But on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, guys. As long as you're going on to the next and you have a huge goal, I want you to write this down. Middle moment milestones. Those middle moment milestones will become you. And Bobby, you waiting to get this call too. I remember when I got a call from the bank telling me that I had to come down there and have a sit down with them and talk with them. And most of the times, you know, people from our background, we get nervous when we get called by the authorities. They tell me I got to go sit down with who for what. They say you got to come down and sit down and have a conversation because you just crossed $1 million. It wasn't what I was gunning for. It was accredited. It was a middle moment milestone that was accredited by default. So what I'm telling you guys is evidence-based. Bobby brought it up. Don't blame me. Guys, your phenomenal reality is on the other side of the actions that you take. We'll be right back. This is The Breakfast with the Brand. There's slow growth and then there's scale. There's incremental growth and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you like how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
So I want you to think, guys. I want you to think, and I want you to kind of have a conversation. Put it in the chat. Like, what are some of the takeaways that you've gotten through the trials? Through the trials, right? So Joel said, "I salute you," right? Dr. Michelle loves the energy. Let's go. Let's grow. Phenomenal Saturday. Guys, what are some takeaways that you've enjoyed through your process? Because this is where the leverage comes from here. The leverage comes from an introspection of what you've actually done and who you actually are and what your gifts actually are. Coaches help you bring it out. Coaches help you recognize that about yourself, which you will not do without that introspective moment, that accountability check. We're so busy in the doing, sometimes we don't have time to reflect. Reflection is everything, guys. What have you been through? What have you taken away? What are your strong points? This is what I realized about myself, leadership, executive coaching, the ability to speak, the ability to coach and help people go from one stage to the next.
I love this approach to this, Coach, because it takes me back to I wrote down, get a promotion in revenue, get a revenue promotion. And the reason I wrote that down was because it took me back to the military when there's a phrase we say when we're getting promoted or when you're getting awarded, since I opened up with some awards. We say you're awarded for what you've done. You're promoted for what you're entrusted to do. You're awarded for what you've done, but you're promoted for what you're entrusted to do. And before we can get promoted, we have to prove proficient. We've got to prove proficient in what we're doing. And what the military does is they say, if you want to become an NCO, you have to go to corporal's course. And that's where you learn competencies that are going to prepare you to be promoted. But before you can be promoted, you must prove proficient. My corporals course could be looked at
Nice.
as branded like a leader, coaching like a leader. Then I did closing like a leader. And from there, we have sergeant's course. So sergeant's course is when you go from a non-commissioned officer to becoming a leader of non-commissioned officers. And for us in the Marine Corps, we call that sergeant's course. And that's, for me, was speaking like a leader, marketing like a leader, and probably when I was just going through the growing pains of generating revenue. And then, because I also made it to an E6 in the military, so I made it to a staff non-commissioned officer. Again, all of these are promotions, guys. This ties back to your business. If you want a promotion in revenue, much like if I wanted a promotion in my military ranking, I had to go through the schooling, the proficiency test. So I ask you this: what have you done lately to test your proficiency? What have you done to put yourself in a position to be tested? For me, I had to be tested on marching and calling cadence. I had to be tested on, do you know the military ranking structure? I had to be tested on, do you know how to lead Marines in a combat situation and scenario? And then when I became a staff NCO, do you know how to lead lieutenants properly and be led by a lieutenant? Because I've been in longer than the lieutenant, but the lieutenant isn't in charge of me. So I say that to say this: in your business, there are different milestones that you've got to hit, and middle moment milestones is something that all of that came to my mind. So that's just what I've been thinking as we go through this.
Oof, this is fire. This is the real fire target, guys. This is a real fire target, real fire topic. Middle moment milestones. So watch this, guys. Some people have midlife crises. That's just what comes to my mind. Some people have midlife crises because they're caught up and not cognizant of what their real strengths are, what their real takeaways are, what their real accomplishments have been. Many times you get caught up by the scoreboard. And I'm just going to say this, like, don't get caught up by the scoreboard. I used to tell people this all the time in sales and in business. Sometimes the bank account will lie to you. The bank account will tell a lie. The bank account will say you're on E. But the real fact is that you're on fulfillment. You're on mission and you're on target. And if you look at Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he says that when, and I'm paraphrasing, but when riches come, they come in such a vast, fast abundance that you wonder like, where was all of this money? Like, where did it exist before? I couldn't get my hands on it before. So you might be in a position where you're starting your business and you feel like you're on E. But the fact is, you're on fulfillment and you're on mission. This is what I tell people all the time. If you have the education, the experience, and the expertise, you are a fine tweak away. You're a hair triggers pull away from massive impact, income, and independence. Phenomenal freedom, unbelievable accomplishments, and super impact, the likes of which you've never, ever seen. Is that what you have inside of you right now, no matter what your bank account says? It's all a matter of bringing it out. That's all it is. It's a matter of getting out of your own way, making a decision, and having the discipline to allow it time to develop, and then dominating in your vertical. That's what it is. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah. I ask myself sometimes, like, why did it take me so long to do what I know I should do? And I think back to the military again. Sometimes you need a push. You just need someone to push you out there and say, sink or swim. In the and I've told this story before, but in the military, there's a diving board. It's 10 feet tall, and you have to jump off of it. There's an instructor there. And a lot of people have never jumped off of a diving board in their lives when they come to boot camps. Many people are that way, and some are just afraid. And the instructor says this to you. He says, hang 10 toes. What that means is step forward and put 10 toes over the edge of the diving board. The instructor then says, take a full 30-inch step and jump. Cross your arms across your chest and your feet will hit the water and begin to swim. He pauses and goes on to say, if you do not jump, I will push you. And it's over. That's how that goes. And everybody hears it over and over and over again. So as you're sitting on the ladder and you're waiting and you hear this speech, imagine what your heart must be doing. You're like waiting to climb up and you hear this guy say, hang 10 toes, take a 30-inch step, cross your arms across your chest and jump. If you do not, I will push you. You're mentally preparing yourself. I'm taking the 30-inch step. They're not pushing me. I'm not belly flopping. So I say that to say this. You know, sometimes that's what it takes. You know, don't be afraid to put yourself in a position to be pushed because, you know, maybe the thought of being pushed is all you need to jump. You know, just the thought of someone pushing you is enough for you to jump out there on your own.
One of the things that I always say, it's funny that you say this, Bobby, because one of the things that I always say to my clients is put your hands in your pockets. Walk with me down to the deep end.
Yes.
You're going to learn how to swim today. That's what business is. And that's what coaching is, especially executive coaching, not that other stuff. Like executive coaching, put your hands in your pockets and walk with me down to the deep end. Because you're going to learn how to swim today. What does that mean? You're going to learn how to make a profit today. You're going to learn how to go live today. You're going to learn how to coach and close and speak and market and brand and lead by example today. Inside this framework, you will not leave the leadership leverage willingly without knowing core competencies for your business success. It just will not happen. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. So what you'll have to do to get out of here without those core competencies and without that success is press the ejector seat. And what happens after you press the ejector seat in the military, Bobby? After you sign the contract and you lock in for 4 years and you choose to abscond and run away, what happens in the military when that happens?
It's not pretty. That's called AWOL, ladies and gentlemen. You will lose your rights as a veteran. So if you go AWOL, they take away your benefits. If you go AWOL, you might not be able to get back in. If you go AWOL, they will and can put you in the brig. So one, not only do you abort the mission, but everything that you did up until that point is jeopardized. The way we say it in the military is, or in the Marine Corps, protect what you've earned. So we have that plastered all over our bases. Protect what you've earned.
Now I've got something very meaningful here to say. You heard all that stuff Bobby just said? Very weighty, right? It holds weight. But I want to introduce you to what holds even more weight than all of those things put together. Dishonor.
Yes.
Dishonor is worse than all of those things put together because you can go make money somewhere else. You can go build a business. You can start a new identity. You can do all of these different things in different places. But the one thing that you will never, ever, ever be able to discharge is dishonor. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. I said Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. All right, guys, if you were experiencing a little bit of lag on the front end, it's because I had my sales team on Zoom watching this. Right, guys? I want you to understand, like, there's levels to leadership. There's so many levels to leadership. Leadership is a beautiful thing, and there's so many levels to it. So I'm literally on a sales call from like 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm teaching like this, no tie on. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to leave the tie off and come on and go live. But before I did that, I said, hold on, guys. I'm going to bring you with me this time, and I'm going to share the screen with them on Zoom and then go live so they can see what I'm doing on the back end, so that I can duplicate myself, so that I don't have to execute everything on my own. Because the purpose of doing business in the first place is freedom. And you have to be able to duplicate yourself. So while we were doing that, there may have been a little bit of lag that you may have experienced. What I want to do is I want to bring you on the back end and give you a 3D look at what we do and how we do it. And I can almost count on one hand how many people are going to give you that glimpse. One hand, one finger. I can count on one hand how many people are going to come out and just explain to you exactly what they're doing while they're doing it in real time, so you can see the 3D leadership effect. While I'm demonstrating, I'm duplicating so that I can be dominating. Please understand, while I'm demonstrating, I'm duplicating my process and myself so that I can be dominating and not have to be physically present on all levels of execution at the same time. Now, you put yourself through that evaluation and see how many times you've gone through that and someone just stopped what they were doing, brought you on the back end and explained why and what and how. Yeah. That's what we do over here. That's called the leadership leverage.
This makes me think about the difference between respecting the rank, respecting the man, and respecting the Marine or soldier, what have you. You know, there's a different level of respect that you give to different levels of leadership. You know, so and you probably also have worked with tyrants. You've probably worked with tactical aficionados that just know how to get things done. And you've probably worked for people that you can't figure out how they got in charge of you. You're like, what in how did they get this position? Right? So I say that to say this. When you're what we say in the Marine Corps is the rank doesn't make the man makes the rank. And the man or woman that makes the rank makes the Marine. And if you want to be extremely successful, and I can say this because I'm owning my journey, I'm owning my process. So when I say successful, I've been successful in leaving a broken home, raised without a father, and getting myself into the military. I succeeded at that. I succeeded in the military from going from E1 to E6, earning 3 Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medals and a Commendation Medal and 2 successful deployments with special operations, and came back safely, succeeded there, and I'm succeeding in business, 3 years of 400% revenue growth consecutively and scaling. So when I say, if you want to succeed in something, what I know to be true is that the money doesn't make the man or the woman, but the woman makes the money. And leadership at its core, in my experience, is about character, the character of the individual, the morals, the values, the principles. That's exactly how my coach taught it to me. And it makes more and more sense each year I live up to those ideals. So I just want you to lean into that this morning, is lean into who you are, what you've become, and never dishonor yourself by aborting the mission or thinking less of your progress.
You said something to me on the back end, Bobby. You said something to me on the back end. I'm going to see if I'm not able to copy and paste that and bring it up here and put it on the screen. Yeah, there it is. Good, good, good. The Marine motto: honor, courage, and commitment. Dishonor is death. Rough talk, right? Rough talk for a rough walk. Business isn't easy, guys. It's not going to be easy. It's simple. The principles are very simple, but it's not always easy because there's levels to implementation. There's levels to execution. There's levels to trauma. There's levels to drama, and there's levels to things that you have to go through in order to be successful. There's levels to commitment. Everybody's committed on the front end. All the racers look the same at the beginning of the race. Inside the horse, like inside the gates, all the horses look the same. It's when those gates open and they come out, and maybe in the 4th lap, you begin to see the separation. You begin to see the champions and the challengers. You begin to see those who fall back and fall forward, those who push through and those who are pushed back. We're all up against the same thing, guys. We're all fighting the same battle with the same challengers. Some people are just more resourceful than others. Some people are more committed than others. Some people are more disciplined than others. Some people have more. It's the decisions, guys, because we all got responsibilities. We all have people that we love. We all have the things that we need to do, and we all have the same forces of resistance. Some of us have even more than others. This is why I always say I'm just a kid from Harlem who God chose to show his favor and mercy through. Grew up in the late 80s, early 90s in a war-torn, ravaged Harlem. No more of the stuff that you see today. Like, it was not what you see today. What you see today is the remake. What you see today is the reconstruction. I was there for the deconstruction. So there was a lot of resistance. There was a lot of turmoil. There was a lot of angst. There was a lot of emotions, embittered, like emblazoned bitterness and lack of opportunity. extreme poverty. Try to think of the worst case scenario. That was Harlem in the late 80s, early 90s. How does somebody come up from that? By making a decision. That's all. Making a decision and then taking every single step required. And trust me, it's been a long mile, and the miles are still long. But I've come so far. Now, I want you to think about this because I'm talking about you. You've come so far that you can't possibly stop now and think that you're going to get ahead.
Yeah. I laugh because the retirement system in the military has changed. But one thing that I know a lot of people struggle with is discipline and commitment. And here's why I laugh. I don't have a retirement right now, guys. So I served 12 years in the United States Marine Corps, and I do not have retirement. Why? Because I did not do 20. So the Marine Corps is like this, the old Marine Corps. So how Sean was talking about old Harlem, this is the old Marine Corps. The old Marine Corps said, if you don't give us 20 years of committed service, active duty, no scruff, no fluff, we won't give you a dollar, period, in retirement. Like if you did not do 20 years of active duty service or reserve service, but if you did reserves, you probably had to do 30 and the pension was going to be reduced, you would not be able to get your retirement. Imagine coming into the service at 18 years old. And the reason you joined is because you wanted to retire at 38 and you're 26 now. You're like, I can't stop. I'm 6 years in. I got like 12 to like 14 more to go. But if you stop now, you don't get nothing. And you got to do 4-year enlistments. So you just keep on going. And you keep on going. And you keep on going until you get there. So I say that to say this. You might have to Marine Corps yourself. Or like and it wasn't just Marine Corps, it was the DOD. You might have to make a 20-year commitment and say, if I stop before 20 years, I'm getting nothing. And just grill that into your brain and just be like, if I stop before 20 years, I'm getting nothing. Because they say it takes about 10 years to attain mastery. So if you work 10 years and you've dedicated I'm not stopping for 20, and you get to 10 and you're a master savant and you say, well, now that I'm a master, I'm a masterfully work this thing for another 10. I mean, and like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, what's the worst that could happen if you dedicate 20 years of your life to becoming the best version of yourself and dedicating to one vertical? And in the Marine Corps, you get one MOS. Like, now you can do what we call a lat move, meaning you can change your MOS, but it's very few in between. If you
for those who don't know, Bobby, clarify MOS, please.
So your MOS is your specialty. So for me, I was a logistician. I was an 0411. So that means I was in the logistics space. For me, I was a logistician for all 12 years. If you wanted to get out of your MOS, you would have to lat move. That is not very easy to do. It's not always possible. And if you lat move, you oftentimes lose some of your seniority. So for me, I had no choice but to be disciplined. I had no choice but to stick it out. I didn't know how fortunate I was to be in the Marine Corps because I didn't know how much I struggled with making decisions. But now that I'm learning all of this stuff, and now that I'm out of the Marine Corps and I'm building my discipline and I'm learning from all those different things, I just say this to you before I give it back to Sean, is commit yourself, much like how the military did for us. They say one MOS, 20-year commitment. If you stop before 20, you get nothing. If you make that up in your mind, I'm going to do one thing for 20 years, and if I stop before 20, I get nothing, your life will look very, very different.
I love it. I promise you, I love it. So I come from a place where you don't get married. I also come from a place where you don't go to college. I come from a place where you barely finish high school. If you do, you're lucky, right? So that should tell you something about the morals, the values, the principles, and the way you're able to code switch if you so choose. Now, I haven't been formally to the military, but like I said, I came from a third world country, basically. Old Harlem is war torn and ravaged like a war torn bomb victim. It was unbelievable, right? So I come from a different mindset. So I entered college. I'm still there. 10 plus years later. Married, still there. I don't care what the world does. I don't care about the whole 50% divorce rate. That doesn't apply to me. I don't care about the, I never went to a graduation, just to let you know, like, how seriously I take it. Like, I never went to a graduation. They said, hey, you got your associates. Come on, walk down the aisle. I said, what is the purpose of going across the stage with an associate's degree? I didn't come for an associate's degree. They said, hey, you got your bachelor's. Sean, congratulations. Come fly out to and walk across the cap and gown and celebrating. Why would I celebrate mid-moment milestones? I'm not finished. I haven't accomplished yet. You got the first master's degree. Come celebrate. Come walk. So many few people share your background and hit the numbers. And I'm like, no, it's not right yet. Second one. I got a pattern going now. Third one. Nah, not yet. I'll walk. But when I walk, listen, it'll be something to talk about for years to come. Let's grow. Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Sean's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Sean is the bomb.
I don't talk theory. I don't talk hyperbole. I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G-Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Sean Raiz. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
Standards, guys. That's what we're talking about today. If you don't know, if you haven't caught on yet, we're talking about standards. We talked a little bit about standard operating procedures and key performance indicators yesterday. We're still talking about standard operating procedures and key performance indicators today. Yesterday, we applied them to your business. Today, we're applying them to your personal modus operandi. This is about you. Leadership is about you. Business is about you. I say brand you, not what you do. And if you can't brand you, it doesn't make a difference what you do. What you've done where you come from or what you say. Because you have to stand on your character. You have to stand. This is a meritocracy. Business, entrepreneurship is a meritocracy, and you are only as good as your word and last performance. Your next performance can undo the last 20 years of your service. So watch this, Bobby. Let's say somebody does 19 and a half years in the military under the stringers. They do the whole 19 years and 3/4. Let's say they get shot in combat and they're riding a desk and something tragic happens at home, and it just makes sense for them to leave. It's justifiable by their standards. Is it justifiable by the organization standards?
It's not. And man, it's crazy because I've seen it. Like,
that was the next question.
People get to 17 years. I won't share too much about this story, but I'll share a little bit about it. Not much. It's nothing crazy, but I knew a gentleman, Marine, senior enlisted, and the individual's character came into question because they were borrowing money from Marines that were under their charge, and they were using that money to do things that wasn't necessarily illegal, but it wasn't becoming of the highest standards of leadership. And when their character came into question, this person had about 3 years left to retire. Now, what's very important about this is that you get paid your pension based off of the last 3 years of the highest rank that you hold. Because of all of these things that happened, this individual was forced into early retirement. Grace is the reason they gave him a retirement. Like, they could have said, we're about to pretty much NJPU, non-punitive judgment, and we're going to take your rank, demote you, and then send you out. But they didn't. They showed grace because he did give 17 years, but they forced him into early retirement. And what that possibly cost him, because we get paid for the rest of our lives with the DOD, could have been hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I say all of that to say, no, the organization does not care. And the moment you fail to meet the standards, you will pay the price. And if you did 17 years and you were 3 away and you slipped up at the last 3, like you was almost there, that 100,000, man, or hundreds of thousands, it's expensive, very.
In your business, it's countless millions of dollars. Just so that we're clear. In your business, the goal, if you get this right, I was going over this with my sales team, like targets, real tangible targets, touch points. You just say touch points because it's touchable. If you can see it, I swear you can have it. We've done it. You just have to believe it and keep moving. When you stop moving, that's when you're in trouble. You're lowering your standards. You're lowering your targets. And you're accepting less. If business, life, challenges, competition, if all of these things are demanding more of you, it's a phenomenal thing because it allows you to rise to the occasion. It's when you sit down in the face of adversity that you stop growing. It's when you lower your standards, lower your targets, and settle for less that your character is compromised and your freedom is brought into question. Now, a lot of times we may use a military analogy to infer and illustrate the meaning behind what we say. Another time we might use a business strategy of application for you to feel and experience what we're saying. We might call something out that you might be familiar with from your past. Either way you size it up, either way you slice it, it's still standard operating procedures and key performance indicators. Key performance indicators and standard operating procedures. One of the things that I have done since I can remember, I think I did this when I was like 14, 15. I have a mirror test. I have a mirror test in the morning and I have a mirror test at night. And it's not egotistical at all. But I'll look in the mirror and check myself to make sure in the morning I'm committed to everything that day is going to entail. And if I'm not, then I got to have another conversation with my creator to put myself back on the square of truth, honor, and commitment. And before I go to bed, I look myself in the face again just to make sure that I've kept my commitments throughout the day. And if I haven't, then my conscience will not allow me to lay down until I write the email, read the chapter, do the push-ups, whatever it is that I didn't do that I said I was going to do before I lay down must get done, or I won't go to bed that night until it gets done. And that's personal. No one gets told about that. No one checks me on that. I check myself on that because I have my own SOPs and KPIs. And I hope you do too, because if you don't, you're gonna buckle. And when you buckle, the whole world chuckles.
Yes. Man. You know, Coach, we've got 5 minutes. I only need like
5 minutes, man.
I want to read you guys something because what I just and it'll probably take me about 2 minutes to get through it. But what came to my mind was a creed. You want to have a creed. When I went through closing like a leader, there was a closer's creed.
That's
Still
right.
say that day to this day at time. Like if I'm feeling a little shaky, I say that creed because your creed is what you live up to every day. So I want you guys to know that I didn't get the 400% revenue growth 3 consecutive years and survive Sean Wright East boot camp by having a slap hand, by having a weak spirit. I was a very strong individual. So what I want to share with you guys is the NCO creed, something that was embedded in me that I didn't know I was using every day that Sean has probably never heard. But I'm pretty sure it'll bring a smile to his face when he hears the NCO creed. And I want to share it with you guys because it may be somewhere for you to start. This is what I lived with for 12 years. Now, when I became an NCO, this is what I learned. So here it is. I am the backbone of the United States Marine Corps. I am a Marine, non-commissioned officer. I serve as part of the vital link between my commander and all officers and enlisted Marines. I will never forget who I am and what I represent. I will challenge myself to the limit and be ever attentive to duty. I am now more than ever committed to excellence in all that I do so that I can set the proper example for other Marines. I will demand of myself all the energy, knowledge, and skills I possess so that I can instill confidence in those I teach. I will constantly strive to perfect my own skills and to become a good leader. Above all, I will be truthful in all I say or do. My integrity shall be impeccable as my appearance. I will be honest with myself and with those under my charge and with my superiors. I pledge to do my best to incorporate all the leadership traits into my character, for such is the heritage I have received from the long, illustrious line of professionals who have worn the blood stripe so proudly before me. I must give the very best I have for my Marines, my Corps, and my country. For though today I instruct and supervise in peace, tomorrow I may lead in war. That is the NCO creed. That's what we speak the moment we get our blood stripe and henceforth. And that's what I bring every day to my leadership and to my coach and to the things he teaches me. Even though I don't get it all right, I got that in my spirit, in my heart, in my mind, and I share every day.
And this is the Breakfast with the Brand. Let's grow.